Good morning and welcome to CNN News 18 with me, Ayushman Singh Jambal. Our top story: in a bid to tackle the COVID spike, there is a crackdown on mask violators across the country. More than 1,300 violators were fined on day one under Delhi's new Challan rules. In Agra, police have detained violators and let them off only after they pay the fine. The Rajasthan government has also decided to increase the fine amount from 200 to 500 rupees. We're joined by Nitisha Kashyap reporting from the national capital and Mihir Trivedi reporting from Mumbai. Good morning to both of you. Nitisha, I'll come to you first. So is Delhi police adopting a zero tolerance policy?
Well, yes, if we talk about that, Delhi police have been challenging people for various violations, including for not wearing masks or not following the social distance. In fact, in each district, if we talk about, in each district, the beat constables, the beat officers, they have been given a task to ensure that, at public places, people are wearing masks, people are following the social distancing norm. There is no spitting at the public place, because remember that people eat pan or gutka and they would spit at the public place. So under the Epidemic Act, these things are not allowed, and therefore the Delhi police have been chalaning. If we talk about yesterday, which was the first day of rupees 2,000 challan for not wearing masks or for not wearing social distancing norms or for spitting at public places, the Delhi police yesterday till 4 o'clock, they challaned some 1,306 people for not wearing masks. Now, this mask violation was under the amended Epidemic Act, of which the notification was issued day before yesterday. And all the fines that have been charged under this is that of rupees 2,000. So yesterday, around 1,300 people were charged rupees 2,000 for not wearing masks at public places.
We have Mihir Trivedi reporting from Mumbai on this story as well. Mihir, take us through mask enforcement in the financial capital.
Absolutely. There is a drive by the BMC, which is the mask drive, which is ongoing at this point. Remember, it started just before the festive season, before Diwali, somewhere around September, and so at this point it has gained momentum. Looking at the current numbers, Mumbai was dabbling with a three-digit number, but now it seems there has been some amount of spike in last couple of days. But there is a proper mask drive in which people are being penalized if they are caught not wearing a mask or not wearing it correctly. Remember, there are several wards where this drive is going on, and from what we gather at this point is that the Mumbai BMC has collected over 3.5 crores in fines from offenders. Now, when I spoke to some of these marshals who are constantly on the streets of places which are crowded, like the beaches, the malls, market areas, to ascertain and bring that discipline into people of Mumbai, that they wear a mask during these current pandemic times, they told me that there are still 30-40% of people who really take it very lightly, and that's why it's important to have this drive and to have the offenders realize that they need to wear these masks, and they are charging 200 rupees as penalty. And from what we know is that the K-West ward has collected almost 40 lakhs out of the 3.5 crores that the BMC has collected from these offenders, and the ongoing drive will ensure that these numbers are checked. It is one of the important issues that Mumbai is facing. Remember, post festive season there is a spike expected, and we are kind of seeing a constant rise in numbers, and that needs to be checked, and that's why this particular drive by the BMC is very essential, and they have been quite successful to a great extent in disciplining Mumbaikars to wear this and have this habit of wearing a mask.
We're also joined by Pranshu Mishra, who's reporting from Lucknow. Pranshu, good morning. Take us through mask enforcement in Uttar Pradesh.
Clearly, like other states, the UP2 is seeing a fresh wave of rise in number of cases. So you talk about Lucknow, you talk about the NCR region. The number of cases have gone up, and all is being associated to the free movement and a lot of mingling which happened over the Diwali festival season. But latest pictures which are coming in is that how the government is actually getting tough to ensure that people do wear masks. And therefore, in a first of its kind action in Agra, around 70 people were rounded up. They were put up in a police van, taken to the nearby police station, and were only released after they had furnished the required fine amount of rupees 500. So that clearly the government says that the administration says that it is not a case of high-handedness. The picture should come in evident to the people that in case you don't wear a mask at public places while stepping out of the office, and if you are not in a position to pay a fine on spot, then be ready to be rounded up and being taken up to the police lockup. So clearly, at the first of its kind pictures which came in from Agra, clearly to prove a point that in post-Diwali, amidst the fresh wave of rising COVID cases, the administration has gone tough on the defaulters.
So clear crackdown on mask violators across the country. Thank you, Nitisha, Mihir and Pranshu for joining us on the broadcast on that story. Now shifting focus, Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the two-day virtual G20 summit convened by Saudi Arabia. The Prime Minister called for greater transparency in governance and decisive action by G20 nations to counter the impact of the COVID crisis with a focus on both economic recovery and conservation. He further termed the COVID pandemic as an important turning point in the history of humanity and the biggest challenge the world is facing since World War II. Prime Minister Modi also sought a new global index for the post-coronavirus world consisting of 4 elements: creation of a vast talent pool, ensuring technology reaches all segments of society, transparency in governance systems, and dealing with the earth in a spirit of trusteeship. We're joined by Maha Siddiqui, who tracks foreign affairs. Maha, good morning. As we inch closer to a vaccine, the focus of the G20 nations will be to boost cooperation for delivery and mass inoculation.
Yes, of course, that is one of the prime factors, and we have already seen the G20 countries coming together earlier on in an extraordinary summit earlier this year in March, and the focus at that time also was looking for some sort of a solution. At that time, even as far as the possibility of any sort of drug is concerned was also been looked at. So even at that time, the countries had said that they will pitch in for looking at a vaccine, for researching for a vaccine, and funds were raised even at that time. So now that we are inching closer to the possibility of a successful vaccine, there is going to be a dialogue among the G20 countries now for one very important factor, and that is a fair distribution of vaccine. Because, Ayushman, the concern is very real now that the rich countries might stake claim to the vaccine first, leaving the developing countries still grappling with the situation for the entire 2021 period. And that is something that should not be acceptable to developing countries, which have been equally badly hit by this pandemic. In fact, even worse hit because of the kind of situation that many countries are grappling with, especially India at this juncture. And therefore, because India also has the production capabilities for vaccines, after all, we are the world's most important country as far as vaccine production is concerned. We produce half the world's vaccines. So in that context, yes, this talk becomes very important. In the closed-door meeting yesterday of the G20 leaders, the COVID-19 pandemic and the response, the recovery of global economy after the pandemic was discussed. And under these current circumstances and global recovery, it is certainly important that people get better, they do not fall sick. And in that context, the issue of vaccine becomes even more critical.
Thank you, Maha, for joining us on the broadcast as global powers rally for the delivery of a vaccine in a post-corona world and to come back to some sense of normalcy. Now, getting you some breaking news in the case against the Bollywood drug nexus. Latest in the probe into the Bollywood drug nexus, actor Bharti Singh and her husband Harsh Limbayachia have been arrested by the NCB. According to the NCB, both Bharti Singh and her husband Harsh accepted consumption of ganja. So that's what we're getting latest in that NCB case into the Bollywood drug nexus, that Bharti Singh and her husband are now in NCB custody and both have accepted the use of ganja. They were both accepted to consuming drugs and both are in NCB custody. Remember, Bharti Singh was raided after drug peddlers who were hauled up by the NCB took her name. Her office and her home was raided by the NCB, and around over 86 grams of ganja was recovered from the premises. Now, Bharti Singh and her husband are both in NCB custody, and both have accepted the consumption of ganja. So we're joined by Herman Gomes on the story. Herman, good morning. Over 86 grams of ganja recovered. Both have accepted drug use. What punishment does the couple face, and where does the case go from here?
Well, Ayushman, first of all, it was yesterday that a drug peddler who in the early morning was first arrested, a 21-year-old, with LSD sheets which were again in commercial quantity. Post that, through his investigation, it came to light that Bharti Singh as well as her husband too were consuming these alleged drugs, which is why raids were conducted at their production house as well as their residence. Now, 86 grams of ganja that was recovered. At this point, it can be anywhere between either the small to the medium quantity, and if convicted, there is a prison sentence up till a maximum of 10 years, as well as a fine of around 10 lakhs is what we are given to understand. But so far, according to the NCB, it claims that both Bharti as well as her husband, who late night has also been arrested, have so far confessed towards the consumption of drugs, is what they say. So today it is believed that around post 12 o'clock is when they will be produced before the magistrate via video conferencing, is what we are given to understand, at least at this point in time. And the NCB will want to seek their custody on the grounds to try and understand if there are other people from the television circuit who were also in the know about consumption of drugs. So therefore, that is the reason why they would be seeking their custody. Very interesting to note is that yesterday, even after the couple was detained, there were another 2 peddlers that were also picked up from around the area. So one can expect probably in all likelihood certain more actors could be called in or summoned for questioning by the NCB.
Thank you, Herman, for joining us on that story. We'll track this case as and when it develops. Now, shifting focus, putting a rest to speculations of a rift between the AIADMK and the BJP, Tamil Nadu Deputy Chief Minister O. Paneerselvam said that the alliance is intact. He said that the two parties will come together to fight the 2021 polls. This happened in the presence of Home Minister Amit Shah, who is currently in Chennai for a 2-day visit. Shah on Saturday laid the foundation stone for projects worth over 67,000 crore. Speaking on the occasion, Shah praised the AIADMK for putting up the best performance in fighting COVID and accused the opposition DMK of dynasty politics and corruption.
मित्रों, यहाँ पर जो सरकार चल रही है, वो सरकार मुख्यमंत्री जी और उप मुख्यमंत्री के नेतृत्व में चल रही है। मैं तमिलनाडु की जनता को बताना चाहता हूं कि भारत की केंद्र सरकार, नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार, एनडीए की सरकार चट्टान की तरह तमिलनाडु सरकार के साथ खड़ी है और तमिलनाडु के डेवलपमेंट के लिए कमिटेड है।
Getting some breaking news from Chennai as well. RSS ideologue S. Gurumurthy met Amit Shah at the Leela Palace Hotel. The meeting lasted for over 4 hours. Gurumurthy left the Leela Palace Hotel at around 2:45 a.m. So a 4-hour meeting between S. Gurumurthy and Amit Shah in Chennai as Amit Shah rallies the BJP in Tamil Nadu for the 2021 election. So a critical meeting between top RSS leader S. Gurumurthy and Home Minister Amit Shah ahead of the crucial state election. We're joined by Purnima Murli. Purnima, what more details are we getting of this meeting?
Well, this was a crucial meeting where we are given to understand that while the speculation was raised that Rajnikant could perhaps meet Amit Shah during Amit Shah's visit, we are given to understand that a lot is discussed about Rajnikant's political launch plan. It has been delayed for so many months now, and now Rajnikant also made it clear that because of the ongoing pandemic and because of his health condition, he is still not stepping out. He is not allowed to venture out of his residence. That's something that Rajnikant had made it clear. And yesterday's meeting was about the political situation in Tamil Nadu and also what Rajnikant has in mind in terms of the political launch. So these were the issues that were discussed, is what we are given to understand. But the meeting lasted for more than 4 hours between RSS ideologue Gurumurthy and Home Minister Amit Shah. It started at around 11 p.m. and it went on till about as early as 3 a.m.
Thank you, Purnima, for joining us on the broadcast as the BJP rallies its cadre base. to push for that 2021 state elections in Tamil Nadu in alliance with the AIADMK. Now let's listen into Amit Shah take on the Congress and DMK for dynastic politics.
नरेंद्र मोदी जी के राष्ट्रीय राजनीति में आने के बाद देश भर में भ्रष्टाचार, परिवारवाद और जातिवाद, ये तीनों को समाप्त करने की एक लड़ाई लड़ी है नरेंद्र मोदी जी। देश भर में अलग अलग राज्यों में जब जब चुनाव आया, मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हम चुनाव लड़े और हर राज्य से परिवारवादी पार्टियों को चुनाव में करारी हार सहन करनी पड़ी है। अब तमिलनाडु की बारी है, यहां पर भी एक परिवारवादी पार्टी चलती है जो डेमोक्रेटिक वैल्यूज पर नहीं चलती, परिवार को ही आगे बढ़ाकर अपनी राजनीति करती है। मुझे पूरा भरोसा है कि यहां पर आने वाले चुनाव में जब चुनाव होगा तब परिवारवादी शक्तियां समाप्त हो जाएगी और लोकतांत्रिक शक्तियां, डेमोक्रेटिक शक्तियां आगे बढ़ेगी।
இனி வருகின்ற தேர்தலில் அனைத்து இந்திய அண்ணா திராவிட முன்னேற்ற கழகம் பாரதிய ஜனதா கட்சியும் அந்த வெற்றி கூட்டணி தொடரும் என்பதனை நான் இந்த கூட்டத்தின் மூலமாக தெரிவித்துக் கொள்ள கடமைப்பட்டிருக்கிறேன். தொடர்ந்து மூன்றாவது முறையும் நாங்கள் வெற்றி பெற்று முத்திரை பதிப்போம்.
நாடாளுமன்ற தேர்தலில் அமைக்கப்பட்ட கூட்டணி தொடரும் என்பதை இந்த நேரத்தில் தெரிவித்து, மீண்டும் வருகின்ற 2021 சட்டமன்ற பொதுத் தேர்தலில் எங்களுடைய கூட்டணி அதிக இடங்களிலே, பெரும்பாலான இடங்களிலே வெற்றி பெற்று கழக ஆட்சி அமையும் என்பதை இந்த நேரத்தில் தெரிவித்து, தமிழக மக்களின் சார்பாக, எனது சார்பாக மனமார்ந்த நன்றி இந்த நேரத்தில் தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன்.
Shifting focus, after a Pulwama-style attack was averted by security forces a few days back in Nagrota, Home Minister Amit Shah and Prime Minister Modi have lauded the security forces. Meanwhile, Pakistan's link in the Nagrota operation has been exposed. CNN News 18 has accessed the route the terrorists took. The map clearly shows how they crossed over the border and infiltrated into Indian territory. On the other hand, India has summoned Pakistan's Deputy High Commissioner and conveyed their concerns, telling Pakistan to stop supporting terror groups. So that's what we're getting latest on the Nagrota operation, where we have now accessed details about how that unit of terrorists crossed across the LOC and entered into Indian territory. Remember, they were intercepted at a checkpoint in Nagrota, and a huge cache of arms and ammunition was recovered from them, including AK-47 rifles, RDX explosives, grenades, and multiple rounds of ammunition. We're joined by Arunima, who tracks the MHA on the story. Arunima, good morning. What more are we getting from the investigation into the Nagrota operation?
So the hunt is on for the driver. That's the main focus of the probe right now. The driver had fled when the truck was, flagged off at the Ban Toll Plaza. And he's crucial because he could provide leads about other people who were part of the conspiracy, the other overground workers. Now, there have been a few arrests of people in Tral and Pampore area of Valley, people associated with Jaish-e-Mohammed. But officials say that no direct linkages with Nagrota have been found so far. So both in Kashmir, both in the Valley as well as in the Jammu area, searches are being conducted, hunt is on, but so far there is no concrete lead that we know about. The police is saying that they're still hunting for the driver. He's the crucial link.
Thank you, Arunima, for joining us on the broadcast on the latest on the Nagrota operation. I'm speaking to CNN News 18, Union Minister R.K. Singh slammed Pakistan for pushing terror into India.
Kashmir is on fire once again thanks to Pakistani infiltrators. Joining me to discuss the situation further, Union Minister R.K. Singh. You have worked with Defence and Home Ministry as well. You've multiple times flagged off Pakistan's role in Kashmir. Nagrota Toll Plaza encounter once again shows their footprint.
Pakistan, along with some actors from this side, has been responsible for impeding the development of Jammu and Kashmir because of the interference, because of the sending across of terrorists again and again, never allowing Kashmir to be peaceful and to develop and to grow its democratic roots and traditions. Yes.
So we have given Pakistan evidence. We have given dossier after dossier. Many of them you carried yourself, when you went across the border. We have got them grey listed at FATF. Internationally, their terrorists are proscribed. Yet nothing changes.
So it's not going to change. It's just not going to change because they don't sort of want to see India continue growing.
मित्रों, मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हमारे सुरक्षा बलों का हौसला भी मजबूत है। मैं परसों की ही बात करना चाहता हूं। पड़ोस के देश से भेजे गए 4 आतंकवादी बहुत बड़ी घटना को अंजाम देना चाहते थे। उनको पकड़ लिया गया, रास्ते में रोका गया और चारों के चारों बहुत बड़े असले के साथ, बहुत हथियारों के साथ एनकाउंटर में मारे गए।
Now, latest in our Mission Pani campaign, there is a World Toilet College in Aurangabad in Maharashtra. It was started in 2018 to train and rehabilitate manual scavengers. Many of you are hearing about this for the first time, just like Vijay, who went to study there.
मेरा नाम विजय टाक है। मैं वहाँ पर पहली बार गया तो मुझे ऐसा लगा देख के, अरे वर्ल्ड टॉयलेट कॉलेज बोले तो कॉलेज ऐसा पहली बार सुनने में अजब-व-गरीब लगा। टॉयलेट कॉलेज ये ऐसा लगने, तो ऐसा भी होता है क्या टॉयलेट कॉलेज है? तो वहाँ पे जाने के बाद देखा तो सब अच्छा लगा और एक मन में वो हुआ कि नहीं, यहाँ मुझे ट्रेनिंग लेनी चाहिए। कोई काम करना है तो वहाँ पे जाके हम डायरेक्ट काम करते थे, तो सेफ्टी किट यूज़ नहीं करते थे। वहाँ जाने के बाद पता चला कि हमें हैंड ग्लोव्स पहनने चाहिए। समझो सीवर में उतरना है तो एक जैकेट था, वो सेफ्टी किट का जैकेट, वो दिया गया, गम बूट दिए गए। फिर वो पहनने के बाद सीवर में उतरा तो कुछ भी वो नहीं हुआ ना, तो उससे और अपनी गंदगी से और अपना संपर्क नहीं हुआ। तो इसे वो उतारने के बाद सिर्फ उसे वॉश कर लिया और उसे सैनिटाइज़र कर लिया तो एकदम क्लीन। मुझे भी कुछ उससे वो नहीं हुआ, नहीं तो ऐसा लगता था जब खाना खाने बैठते तो याद आती थी तो खाना खाने को मन नहीं करता था।
What we actually did in the World Toilet College was brought them in, and over a 5-day period we were able to train them on several things. Train them on hygiene, train them on how to make sure that sanitation is done the right way, make them understand what their rights are basically as Indian citizens. So at the end of this, we were able to kind of place them with some really benevolent companies in housekeeping jobs, in cleaning jobs, in hospitals, in hotels and so on and so forth. And I'm really happy that till the end of 2019, very early 2020, before COVID started, we had trained and rehabilitated and placed in jobs 5,000 plus manual scavengers in Aurangabad, Bombay and Pune.